cursed by the old gods of Bethany. We are four souls destined to review the 1001
movies,
albums,
songs,
and TV shows you must consume before you die. Until then, we are the Immortals. And this is episode 162.
Cool.
162. No Pedro.
There's nothing interesting with the number. It's a boring number.
It's true. Let's get out of the way right now. Let's say that there's no Pedro this week.
Oh yeah, Pedro's not here, which is why there was a less to say right then.
Yeah, as we said last week, Pedro is at Cinepocalypse. We'll get into that in a second. But I'm Austin.
I'm Sarah.
I'm JC.
Yes, you are, JC.
Oh, and Pedro's gone, so... I'm JC.
You just waiting for Pedro and then
Yep.
figured it. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so Pedro has taken the week off work to attend this, 9-day horror fest here in Chicago.
It's really a very Austin thing to do.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of like, I have to go to work, though. That's my issue.
I understand, yeah.
Yeah. But I guess, Pedro's going to every single screening and then taking a half day off work. So he's going to work from, presumably, 9 a.m. to noon.
Which is insane. I don't know.
Well, he's not gotten there on time yet. So I think it's more like 10:30 to noon.
Hey, Pedro's bosses, I hope you don't listen to this podcast.
They know when he's not there.
I suppose that's true. But do they know why?
Oh, yeah. Because the two coworkers with him are also doing the same thing.
Fair. Good point.
But yeah, I've attended a few screenings there, and it's been pretty up and down. But I assume as we
Sorry,
start
I'm
this
laughing
episode,
because of the one that I've seen, and I'm thinking about it now.
Sarah, do you want to talk about what we saw last night?
We saw a movie called Tammy. Well, admittedly, the title seems to be in some dispute based on the cut we saw, but I'll go with Tammy and the T-Rex.
Mm-hmm.
It is Denise Richards' first starring role. We saw, it was a PG-rated theatrical release from 1994. We saw the cut that is the closest to what it was originally intended to be, which was a PG-13 and/or R horror comedy with a lot more gore and sex. The plot of the movie is that Denise Richards' boyfriend, Michael,
Played by Paul Walker in his first role.
Played by Paul Walker in Paul Walker's first role, through a series of misadventures involving an abusive ex-boyfriend of Denise Richards', his brain, he ends up in a coma maybe. And
well, he was in a real coma because
it doesn't really matter.
It's the abusive current boyfriend.
Well, no, Billy is an abusive ex-boyfriend, as Billy believes himself to be Denise Richards' current boyfriend. But, Denise Richards doesn't think that, and, you have one-sided veto power on whether you're someone's girlfriend.
It is true. Yada, yada, yada. He throws Paul Walker into a wild animal park. A lion mauls him.
Nash.
He's in a coma.
Roar.
Mad scientist takes Paul Walker's brain, puts it inside a giant robot T-Rex.
Yes, it's clear. It's important to note that this is, not a Jurassic Park movie. It is not a real T-Rex. It is a robo-T-Rex. That then...
With Paul Walker's brain inside.
Yeah, and Paul Walker, of course, is Tammy's... Or, it's possible that it's Tammy with N's, N as in Norbert. It's unclear. She, of course, is in love with said T-Rex.
Wild.
And I will say, this is one of the best bad movies I have ever seen in my life. We were dying. Every moment was hilarious, and it had just enough self-sincerity to make the whole thing just baffling. Just deeply baffling. It's by the guy who made Mac and Me.
Mm-hmm.
And it has a very similar feel to it of wait, you thought this made... What? Did you think this was funny or made sense? Or... I don't...
There's a strong rumor that this is going to finally come out on Blu-ray this summer of this R-rated cut. This was the first ever screening of it. And, it was magical. It
really was something. Bad movies you haven't seen are kind of a crapshoot, But, damn. It was so good.
Did you see anything memorable in the past week?
I'm just literally speechless.
No, and honestly,
I've watched a couple episodes of Good Omens.
It's good. What do you think?
Saw it. It is good. I feel like right now it's been slightly overhyped. People are losing their shit over it because David Tennant is in it.
Well, yeah.
But it's good. I'm definitely enjoying it.
I feel like we're 4 out of 6 in, and I think so far all of my problems with the show are the same problems I have with the book, which is a book I like, but I'm not obsessed with. And I think David, the gayer it gets, the better. The more it spends on Aziraphale and Crowley's
100%.
relationship, the better it is. But I'm into it. It's really pretty in terms of the way that it's put together. It is a very faithful adaptation because of course it's Neil Gaiman, which is nice. It doesn't feel like there are no corners being cut. There's no, it's good.
Yeah, it's nice because Neil Gaiman wrote the whole miniseries based off the book, and unlike typically, and he kind of falls in that camp sometimes of author who's into his own work as I have made the perfect story.
He jacks off on his own books, yeah.
But this one feels less of that because it was co-created. It was co-written. The book was by Terry Pratchett.
Yeah, and Terry Pratchett never takes himself too seriously.
So this almost feels like a nice honoring of his friend.
Yeah.
Because it's not like him okay, now that Terry's gone, I'm going to change all the book to the way I want it is. No, I the more faithful it is, the more I kind of admire that. Even though I don't care about the Witchfinders.
I stopped in the 3rd episode, right, in that big montage of their relationship at the beginning. And that is definitely when they're on screen. It's the best part. I think David Tennant plays the same character in everything.
So I think David Tennant has.
This is my hot take.
He has only 2 modes. He has crazy, which is the doctor.
The manic.
Manic crazy, which is the doctor. This role.
Casanova. Whatever he's doing in. What the hell is that? Colin Farrell vampire thing? Whatever.
And then there's very serious, sad man, David Tennant, Broadchurch, and a couple other things. I feel like.
I would say that
some parts of the Doctor occasionally.
I'd say that Kilgrave goes into the manic one, even though it's
Kilgrave is
sadder.
Right in the middle. Yeah.
No, I was gonna say I would agree. I like the 2 modes. That feels very accurate because I always feel like I'm seeing the same thing, and I like it. It's like buying your favorite candy bar at the store. It's good. It's consistent, but it does feel like it's. I've seen it before a little bit.
It was funny because when I saw his Hamlet, my first time realizing, the Doctor and Hamlet are pretty similar. Of characters kind of throwing their arms around and not getting enough done till the end. But I do wish there was a bonus feature because no one said this exists. But I wish that there was a scene of Good Omens where Michael Sheen and David Tennant switch parts, because those actors could play either one of those roles.
Yeah.
Although. I think partly because of Good Omens, I started listening to David Tennant's podcast again this weekend. He made this interview podcast called David Tennant Does a Podcast with ... And his 12 guests in his first season are so absurdly good. And I actually really like him as an interviewer because, I wouldn't really have guessed this, he really takes a back seat. He doesn't talk all that much on the podcast. It isn't like he's trying to one up someone with an anecdote or a name drop. He just really likes to hear his guests talk, and he had this is his whole lineup for season 1: Olivia Colman, Whoopi Goldberg, Jodie Whittaker, Ian McKellen, John Hamm, Gordon Brown, Jennifer Gardner, Catherine Tate, Kristen Ritter, James Corden, Samantha Bee, Tina Fey, and Michael Sheen. All those are interviews I like to hear.
Wow.
Yeah, that's his season 1. So, yeah, David Tennant, he's good.
Yeah,
I like him. The Doctor.
Yeah.
Woo.
I'm sorry, Austin, do you like Doctor Who?
I do. I just used a bit of an Amazon gift card because I haven't bought season 11 yet. And I just think about season 11 a lot, even though I don't like it that much. But it's coming in the mail now. Sarah zoned out.
I did. I said, do you like Doctor Who? And then I figured you were talking about Doctor Who for a while, so I ignored you.
And that's how she'll Not learn that I bought it.
I also did that, Sarah.
I mean, we are not married yet, which means our finances are separate, so I really don't care.
Beautiful.
Yes.
I don't know what else I've been watching. I just kind of did this stuff, really.
Yeah, I've been, let's see. No. Oh, I finished the first 4 seasons of Schitt's Creek, and Schitt's Creek is my life and my soul, and everything important to me in the world.
So good!
It's really good. It is really a show, and there have been other shows like this, 30 Rock to a certain extent. Parks and Rec is probably the best example of a show I've had this feeling about, where the beginning is so farcical with such weird and somewhat unlikable characters that it literally starts as like, I mean, even like sort of even less likable than Arrested Development. And by season 4, like, I cried because of family moments for these people. Like, it's weird and good, and I don't know why, and it's awesome.
Last night, to kind of date this podcast, I got out of a movie. I was kind of scrolling through Twitter, and the MTV Movie Awards were on. And I'm looking at, like, here's a picture of Robert Downey Jr. winning Best Hero. Like, I was like, this is kind of a stupid award show. This is all, like, they don't really need awards. And then I scrolled past, and Dan Levy won Best Comedic Performance. It's a photo of him, like, holding the popcorn trophy and crying a little bit. I go, never mind. This is a good award show. This is good.
I just, like, it's a show that from the beginning has been very genuine. I mean, the fact that Eugene Levy and Dan Levy, Levy?
Eugene Levy?
Yeah, and Dan Levy play father and son, are actually father and son, and producer, direct the show. They direct or they write?
They created the show.
They created the show. Is, like, from the beginning, those two characters have a lot going on. Moira, the wife, and the daughter take a little bit more to spool up emotionally, but then, like, the feels, the so many feels.
Well, Catherine O'Hara is also kind of Eugene Levy's like unofficial wife, right?
Right.
The amount of time they've spent on screen and as like comedy partners. A Mighty Wind is a beautiful movie because of what they put into it.
Well, and her performance in Schitt's Creek is phenomenally weird and wonderful. It is, as her character starts getting less insane and more like a person who's actually in the town, the pronunciation of words by her character gets stranger and stranger, so that you never forget that this woman is deeply weird.
I was watching, like, I walked in, you were on season 1, and I was thrown off when I heard Moira say words how they're pronounced.
Yeah, that's like, not a thing.
Oh, those are all the right syllables for that word.
Yeah, it's a good show. I will be sad when it's over. I mean, when I'm like done with this season, and then there's one more coming, right?
So season 5 aired this year.
Yeah,
it'll go on Netflix sometime this year. I have seen it. It was good. And season 6, which will come out next year, will be the final season.
Right. It's just it's lovely. If anyone's looking for a good, like, you know, like, there's enough of it that it's a good 30-minute comedy to sink your teeth into. Schitt's Creek is my suggestion. That's the word. The word is suggestion. Also, I'd like you to know the 117th Pokemon, because we're doing the 117th entries in all these books, is Seadra, which is the seahorse Pokemon.
Seadra's so cute.
Seadra's cute. Horsey is the, like, baby one. That's cuter. And then it can evolve into Kingdra if you have a dragon scale, which, you know, then you get a dragon water type Pokemon, which is cool.
See, I looked up the Criterion Spy number for 162, our episode, which is Leanne Ramsey's directorial debut, Ratcatcher, which is very good. She's a good filmmaker.
Cool. Seadra's a good Pokemon.
Alright, but like Sarah said, we're doing the 117th entries in all of our lists of the 1001 movies, albums, songs, and TV shows, and they are the following things.
We watched Bringing Up Baby. Yep.
The album is Aretha, Lady Soul by Aretha Franklin.
We're not doing the song this week, but it would be the Click Song by Miriam Makabe. And the TV show is The Monkees. But let's get right into it. JC, growl again for us.
We watched Bringing Up Baby. Hiss, hiss. I kind of want to give my summary of the movie in Katherine Hepburn's accent.
I also want
but
you
I'm
to
not
do that.
going to.
Damn it!
Because I don't. The year is 1938, Sonny. Blah, 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 blah. This is I immediately forgot everything that the movie was about. Usually I'm better at hiding that on the podcast. So, Katherine Hepburn, Cary Grant, in a movie. It's a comedy. This is another movie about a weirdo scientist man who's really uptight and some very chaotic woman in his life
who
turns everything upside down. What was the other movie?
She makes a lot of sense to
yes.
me.
She does. What was the other movie we watched that was very similar to this, but it was about a cruise ship?
Oh, The Lady Eve.
It's Lady Eve. Holy shit, I said to myself, watching the movie with my full attention. This shit's just like that other shit we watch. But better. So.
Or worse.
Nope, better.
I think it's better.
Lady Eve's
I think the performances are better.
Yeah.
And I think it drags less. Anyway, so Cary Grant is a mild-mannered weirdo paleontologist who can't remember anything, and it's just like blah, 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 blah. So, are we getting married? I can't remember. I need to put this dinosaur together. Blah, 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 blah. And he's gonna get married to some glass of vinegar who works in the paleontology office with him. Okay, I have to put this together in my brain. So there's a dude who visits the museum, and he represents this millionaire lady who maybe wants to give $1 million donation. So, to this museum, where Cary Grant's fucking brontosaurus skeleton is, the love of his life.
Yes, he loves it very much.
And he loves it so much, as well as a bone that also goes. So there are two big stakes, and one is money, and one is this paleontology bone. And then he goes to make an impression on the dude because he thinks that he's the millionaire, but he's not. He's just a representative. And then I've lost track. He goes somewhere and meets Katherine Hepburn. Who cares how he got there?
He's
just
golfing.
Yes, he's golfing.
Right.
And
Katherine
Hepburn
they're
is
golfing.
just there.
And then
yes, that's right.
He follows the ball. She goes, "This is my ball." He goes, "It's not." She goes, "Yes, it is." And then just keeps playing with his ball. And then she takes someone else's car. And
it's great.
She takes his car. It's the same
thing.
His
car. Katherine Hepburn's, whose name I cannot remember in this movie. Katherine Hepburn. Susan, yes. Susan's understanding of what is her property and what is other people's property. It's not that, like, she's bad at it, like, she just doesn't remember. It's like she reverses it. Like, she believes that other people's things are her things, always, and that her things are other people's things, always.
So, at some point in this fiasco, Susan is the niece of the millionairess who's gonna give this donation. And Katherine Hepburn gets a leopard named Baby. And Trick
with very little explanation in the movie at the time it happens as to why this has occurred.
Which is also weirdly a plot in the Monkees episode I watched. Go on.
That's bizarre.
But it's a horse.
This leopard is fucking cute. Its name is Baby. It does my favorite thing ever in the whole world, which is when you see big cats do little cat things.
Yes.
And vice versa. Literally, there's nothing fucking better in cinema, so I'm glad it was featured in this movie.
Agreed.
Then somehow Katherine Hepburn gets Cary Grant to come with her to her farm in Connecticut, so that she can bring baby there. Honestly, I felt like this entire movie was Katherine Hepburn also convincing me to do things, because we would get places and I wouldn't remember how we got there, but we just were.
You're so right. There's something about her performance. Well, I mean, I honestly think this is like one of the great screwball performances, and in some ways one of the great Katherine Hepburn performances, because this character should be the worst and the most unlikable character in the world, and instead all you want the whole movie is for her to be happy and get what she wants, and for Cary Grant to love her.
I definitely agree it's one of the best like Katherine Hepburn performances, and it's a lot going on. There was one point, I think it was somewhere in the first half hour, where Cary Grant is still aloof. I mean, he's aloof the whole movie, but there's just a two-shot, and she goes on like 2 rapid-fire speeches, perfectly enunciated, where she had to have said 1,000 words.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
All in the same cut. And like Cary Grant said like 2 words, and she has another ramble, and then they keep walking away.
Yeah.
In order to make that take, you have to be the kind of Oscar-winning actress that Katherine Hepburn is, while doing the silliest words. But to go back to something JC said
I love this movie so much.
in their intro, in comparison to Lady Eve, how it didn't drag like Lady Eve. I wanted this to drag. This is the most exhausting.
It is exhausting.
Oh, it is. That's totally fair.
if it were any longer than it was.
Oh, like, it is that.
And it's so, because I mean, like, so when I first watched this movie, I knew nothing about it. I saw it on film at the local, at like Doc Films, which is the University of Chicago Film Society. One of my friends was like, let's go see a Katherine Hepburn movie. And I was like, yeah, sure. I assumed that it involved Katherine Hepburn and Cary Grant and a child. Like, because that is the title of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And to its credit, the only signs in even the credits to the movie at the beginning that there is a leopard involved are like a cat. Like, if you don't know, you can get through the first 25 minutes of this movie having no idea that a leopard is going to appear, and when it does, it is the friggin' craziest shit. It makes no sense. And then it's like, oh, I thought we were already off to the races because I'm already exhausted, and now there's a leopard.
It is...
Literally, it's so good.
And soon after that, there's a dog. And by the end, there are 2 leopards. Like, there's just a lot.
And a leopard puppet, let's not forget.
Yes, let's not forget.
A shitty leopard puppet.
This movie, I saw it when I was younger, and it has never completely worked for me. I think because I really love Katherine Hepburn. I think she's amazing in this. I love Cary Grant. I love screwball comedies. I love Howard Hawks. But this movie is so... Because so you have this character of Susan, who is complete like Marx Brothers style anarchy. But the Marx Brothers is spread among 3 or 4 brothers.
It's just her.
And Susan is a force of nature where truly every line she has propels innocent bystanders around her into a new level of chaos every single time she speaks. And that is amazing for a side character. But she leads every scene, and it is so... even though it's funny, but the whole movie, I don't know what to do with this movie.
What this tells me, Austin, is that you don't know a Susan. See, when I was growing up, I had someone like this in my life who had that way of walking into a room, and by the time we were walking out, we had plans to get a free Ethiopian meal by listening to a timeshare presentation, but she had already assigned us all fake identities to make sure that the timeshare presentation would go on correctly, and then we'd go to an art museum, and like you'd end a day with her, and you'd just be like, "What?"
No, there's a difference between eccentric friends and Susan, because eccentric friends go to the bathroom or can breathe between words.
I'm not sure that my friend who is like this does, though. I mean, like there's something about Katherine Hepburn's energy in this that, again, is like, it's somehow why she is not hateable, because she destroys...
I never hated her, yeah.
She destroys everything around her. She is not particularly nice to Cary Grant, and, like, she is not she's like selfish and self-absorbed and like doesn't pay attention to anyone but herself, and yet like all you want to do is like give her a hug and maybe wrap her in plastic wrap and cotton wool because you're pretty sure she's gonna die if you don't watch her for 30 seconds. But like, there is a level of energy that she has. I mean, it is exhausting, but every scene works for me. And I think the best thing about it is that it's never, I think the traditional 30s comedy for this character ends with a moment where Cary Grant is like, but I love you, but you're just too much like this. And Katherine Hepburn's character goes, oh, I know, but I love you and I'll change. That is not how this movie ends. Like, Katherine Hepburn faces no consequences for her actions and remains exactly as crazy as she was at the beginning of the movie, and more fucking power to her.
Well, I thought about that near the end of the movie.
Honestly, that's what I loved about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, the whole film takes place in, like, what, 3 days?
If that. Like, it's so, like, who knows? No one sleeps.
I mean, the sad ending to the story is that if she and Cary Grant stay together, he murders her in a month. Like, straight up
Maybe.
shoots her, and he goes to prison.
No, I think, no,
This was 3 days. Add 30 days to this.
I mean, sure, and like, but you know, like, to the extent that there's content to the romance, which, again, like, content of any emotional kind of this movie is thin at best.
She almost left him in prison.
Oh, I know, but like, he is, right, he's like the most uptight, like, and he needs a push out of his comfort zone. She provides a shove off a cliff into the abyss of discomfort.
I'm not saying that she should be murdered. I'm saying this man snaps and murders her.
But it's funny because we see him snap. That's like another thing I think that is great about it is not just some sort of like seething rage. Like somewhere around the time that he is at her aunt's house and realizes that like the old woman who he has just made a terrible impression on is literally the person that he is trying to impress, which Susan could have told him at any time and just didn't, or it didn't come up, or whatever. And also, a dog has stolen a priceless archaeological artifact. He does, like, he loses it a little bit. Like, he gets angry, and he's like, there's a scene where he's like collapsing against the stairs and screaming about how she's crazy. And it's like, that was good for you too. Like, that was good for you, David, Cary Grant's character. You needed to scream. And yet nothing that you screamed did anything to change the situation of being around this Tasmanian devil of chaos that is this character.
Yeah, I mean, like, this movie is directed by Howard Hawks. We've covered him before on the podcast, via, like, Red River and such. He's kind of, like, versatile, like, great directors of Hollywood. He made maybe my favorite screwball comedy ever made, His Girl Friday, also starring Cary Grant, which has maybe more words in that screenplay than this, even though they're probably the same length.
Impressive, yeah. But
that movie I've seen several times. I've never felt that level of like. This movie wore me out, and I watched it in bed.
It's really exhausting.
Honestly, I love that this movie wore you out, Austin.
I
feel like that's
too.
what it was trying to do.
And in a weird way, like the gender politics in this are like not great. I don't want to like, you know, there's definitely some weird gay jokes with Cary Grant's character. Although even those,
oh wait, him screaming, "I guess I'm gay now."
That was
but
wild.
Honestly, like, in that moment, like his level of frustration is so high that I'm not even mad at him. Like he's just having a bad day. But honestly, like the movie never. There is a world where someone would call Katherine Hepburn's character shrill. And this movie never does that. It never makes her, like, anything... It never makes her the villain. Now, I don't know if she's a character. She's more of, like, a plot device around which all other things occur, but she's never...
She's literally just a chaos agent.
Yeah, and it's not... I think the first time I watched it, I saw it more as a, like, bitches be crazy movie, but it's not that, because there are other women in the movie.
We're like, what the fuck, Susan?
It's more like Susan be crazy. Like, just this woman.
Yeah.
But also, Susan isn't entirely crazy. I think one of the favorite things about Hepburn's performance is that Susan often laughs at her own jokes.
Oh, yeah.
Which means the character is actively telling a joke. It's not that, like, she's
totally.
a spacey manic dream girl. She is just thinking this is funny, much like in the same way Groucho thinks it's funny.
Right.
To just completely upend Margaret Dumont's life, for fun.
Yeah. She's more of a monster than she is a dick.
And I always love also Cary Grant in movies. He's like one of like the best classic Hollywood actors. And what I like so much about him is that obviously he's a huge leading man, star of a billion movies. But also I like that he is also a very good supporting actor.
Mm-hmm.
And he got his start, like his big cinematic, like first people noticing him was him being second fiddle in Mae West comedies.
Oh.
So and even when he is in a movie where he is still like the lead, something like Gunga Din, yeah, he's good at sharing the screen more. And this is a movie where he is very aware that he is never ever going to one up Katherine Hepburn.
Right, this is her.
He is alley-ooping her every chance he can get.
But they're lovely somehow. I mean, I think I think there's two things, and when I walked out the first time, I remember thinking this. It is insane that someone made a movie in which the baby in question is a leopard who is in the movie for a lot of time, and the leopard is not the agent of chaos. The leopard's just there. The leopard is pretty much chill. Baby is like a.
The leopards are fucking being yanked around by Katherine Hepburn like they're bags of bread. Literally the end of that movie when she has the feral leopard and she's just dragging, and she's like, you're coming with me. I don't care if I have to drag you. And this leopard is.
Why are you being so difficult?
Literally,
it's so good.
It's incredible.
And the dog is great. The dog is a delight. Its name is George. It's awesome.
One of my favorite lines from Katherine Hepburn was because they can't find either one of them, and she goes, "Oh no, don't worry about it. They're probably gonna be friends out there." And Carrie goes, "And if they're not, oh, then baby eats George."
That's how this goes.
Yeah.
I loved that whole sequence where she was in jail and she was pretending to be a fucking mobster.
That was
She's
so funny.
It's so weird.
And this is my friend Jerry the Nipper. And this is me. You want me to tell you? I'll tell you so much it'll make your hair curl. And I was like, it just gave me so much life. I felt my acne going back into my face. I felt my soul rising and flying. It was an incredible bit. I was so into it.
I only sort of liked this movie the first time I saw it, and man, I am here for this today. I think it's brilliant. I think it is, and I don't want to be, genuinely, I'm having trouble thinking of things I dislike about it. It has cute animals, and two insanely good performances, crazy set pieces. I mean, the final set piece involves, spoilers, sort of, who cares? The final set piece involves an entire brontosaurus skeleton crumbling to the ground.
While Katherine Hepburn hangs off a scaffolding.
That's where we're at for this movie. And, I think it is that lack of, did we watch Adam's Rib?
For this.
And I think it is it's this thing that every other screwball comedy does at the end, where there's some kind of resolution or compromise between the characters that causes them to live happily ever after, that just doesn't happen in the most
Cary
you
Grant
get.
gives up.
Yeah, Cary Grant gives up.
And Katherine Hepburn kills the love of his life, which is the brontosaurus skeleton.
Right, but like she shows, but like the most of a concession that there is that Cary Grant thinks that he's lost the money, and Katherine Hepburn's like, no, I'm going to give you the $1 million. I have it now. It's mine. So now you can have it. But nothing about no one has learned anything from this experience, and it's just so pure and wonderful and so non-judgmental of the main female character. And I can't think of any other movie, even the other great screwballs, His Girl Friday, I'm gonna blank on names now, but the other really great ones. It Happened One Night, which is a favorite of mine. You Can't Take It With You. Like, this is Heather. We should all hate her, and instead she's perfect.
She is the light of my life. I've never seen a movie with her in it before.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I went through her filmography, and I've never seen any movies with her in them.
Just now watch The Lion in Winter next, just to see her range.
Right, her range is pretty insane, really.
Oh, I think I've seen a clip of her in that movie where she is like, with God as my witness, I'd pick you like a pear, or something like that.
With God as my witness is from Gone with the Wind, but sure.
Whatever. The Lion in Winter pear quote. Please, hold.
I'm holding the phone.
Oh, I could peel you like a pear, and God himself would call it justice.
That is a great quote.
Austin's like, I'm exhausted from talking about this movie. Good, Austin. Good. I hope it runs you into the ground. I hope you crumble like a brontosaurus skeleton. I'm so sorry. That was really aggressive. I give it a 4 or 5. It's really good.
Guys, like, I really like this movie. I'm gonna give it a 4-7.
Follow your heart.
I'm gonna give it a 4-7.
Do it.
I think this is because I think if somebody asked me what is the one 30s or 40s screwball comedy that I should watch, this would 100% be my answer.
I think I like It Happened One Night better.
But
I don't know if that's in this.
You Can't Take It With You is a favorite of mine. And I think screwball? I think it is. I think it is pretty screwball. I think
is It Happened One Night screwball?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I would say both of them are, but this is my favorite by far.
I liked all the ones you named more, so I'm going to say 3-8.
Sure.
Oh my God. Well, you know what, Austin?
This went up for my last. I didn't like it when I was younger.
That's the thing. When I first saw it, I was also I remember being confused that a leopard was involved, but ultimately not particularly impressed. But I think I didn't pay that much attention to the wonder, just the wonder.
His Girl Friday is probably my favorite.
His Girl Friday. I'm not gonna diss His Girl Friday. It's a wonderful movie.
Speaking of wonderful art.
Yeah. This is really something.
Let's go into another agent of chaos. Aretha Franklin.
Yeah, no, we listened to Aretha Franklin's Lady Soul.
Change, change, change. 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 Ooh. For 5 long years, I thought you were my man. But
Aretha Franklin's Lady Soul is her 12th studio album, but sort of her second big hit album. Came out in 1968. Has sold a lot. It all the things, and has 3 of her biggest hit singles on it. Natural Woman, Since You've Been Gone, and Chain of Fools. It's ranked. I mean, it's on all of the major best albums ever list. It's 85 on the Rolling Stone Top 500 Greatest Albums of All Time, 29th on Best 1960s Albums and Pitchfork. It's Aretha Franklin. She's perfect and wonderful.
Yep.
And this is a particularly good set of perfect and wonderful Aretha Franklin songs. Yeah.
Like, I regret that I listened to it today and I only had time to listen through it once, and it feels like something I would really like to revisit because there's a lot of really good bops on there. Also, You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman, co-written by Carole King and whatever dude she was writing with at that time. Just some fun trivia.
That's awesome.
This album, beginning with Chains of Fools,
which is a perfect song.
Chain. Thank you.
What a fucking way to begin an album.
Seriously.
It is, I mean, the whole thing, 10 songs, about a half hour long. Each one is just a powerhouse, either having it still be iconic today in 2019, or just an amazing...
Right, or one I've never heard of that I'm like, oh my gosh, this is also a perfect song.
Yeah, because you're one of the best singers ever.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't look up anything about the album before I put it on, and I, like, was surprised when I looked it up that it wasn't a greatest hits album. Like, that it was crazy to me that it's just one of her albums. I mean, like, her artistic skill just cannot be overstated. I like it. There are people who have a voice that is like, yeah, there are people who have a voice that is like this, and they are gifts to the world. She died about a year ago, which is
I still haven't seen that documentary that came out. Do you know about
I've been
this?
meaning to watch this. What's it called?
Well, it's Amazing Grace. It was it's a documentary that was made in the 70s by Sidney Pollack, a great director, and because of technical issues, they could never get
it or something. Yeah.
Then they kept trying to release it the past few years, but I believe like Aretha Franklin's either herself or the state kind of kept suing, going like, "No, you can't do this." When she passed away, they're able to do it.
Yeah,
and it's now like
it's a concert album.
Yeah, of making
it's
Amazing Grace.
It's amazing. Well, and it's mostly. I mean, Amazing Grace itself is a concert album made in a church. Like, it's a church gospel album. I've really been meaning to watch it. It sounds amazing.
Comes on Blu-ray rental in August, so I'm waiting for that.
Yeah,
It's supposed to be one of the best films of the year, and just seeing the trailer.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's like, this is one of those albums that's just, it's so perfect that it's just like, oh, right, here's just a whole album of Aretha Franklin being perfect. Like, there's nothing to, like, like, I almost feel bad because there's nothing to say. Like, and like, wonderfully, honestly, Aretha Franklin was also, like, appropriately recognized in her lifetime for her insane and amazing contribution for music. So, like, everything wonderful about Aretha Franklin has been said. It doesn't make her any less amazing.
I know exactly when I first heard her.
Yep.
It's about 2/3 of the way through the Blues Brothers.
Probably, yeah, seriously. And it's amazing. Like,
because, like, that scene where she is singing in the diner is probably the best musical number, by far the best musical number in that movie. And it is just so powerful. And it's one of my, I feel like, it's, with the Blues Brothers, much like Cary Grant, take the backseat even more than usual when they kind of having the cameo happen. Because she just rocks the movie for a solid, 5 minutes or so.
Yeah. Well, so I think, like, it's worth saying, like, sort of, why is it that, and I did some reading today about Aretha Franklin, and like, why is it that Aretha Franklin is as amazing as she is? And the big part of it is that she is a pop musician and a soul musician who is bringing into everything she does African American gospel music, which has this sort of this harmony richness and then also, like, the gospel belt, which is so, so her style of just the insane vocal hugeness of everything that Aretha Franklin does. And all of her songs have that sort of the gospel spiritual feel to them while still being pop songs. So she's sort of everything at once. Chain of Fools is just like, I mean, like any album that had Chain of Fools on it is perfect. Like, you know what I mean? And then there's another like 3 other major hits, and the other songs are amazing. So I just like.
Do you have one that you hadn't heard before that like?
I was just gonna look at exactly that question because I'm sure I do.
How about you, JC? What was a new song that you heard that was like amazing to you?
Oh, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna do the same thing as Sarah. Let me open my Spotify. I liked the one a lot that was someone's name.
Nikki
Nikki Hoki.
Nikki Hoki was also one that
Nikki
I
Hoki,
really liked. Yeah. I also
Yes,
liked
that
Good
was
to
one
Me
that
As
I
Am to
remember.
You, which I never heard.
Yes, that's a great song.
I thought the song that ended the whole thing, Ain't No Way.
Oh yeah, also
Was so good.
fucking amazing. It seriously, like I thought I was listening to a greatest hits album and was just like uninformed about some Aretha Franklin hits I didn't know about. Like, the fact that it's not that and it's just a regular album is, I mean, I don't know what else to. It's
Honestly,
perfect.
we have to listen to a lot of weird shit for this podcast. And that's not bad because, like, you know, I feel like we get to discover things that maybe we wouldn't have before. And it's really nice to just be like, this is just some really, really, really unquestionably good shit that you just get to sort of simmer in. And that's like always a nice break.
Yeah.
Henge.
4.9. I would only save a 5 for something that is like also personally like deeply meaningful to me. I love this album. It's perfect. It's a 4.9.
4.85, only because I only heard it once and need to hear it 10 more times, and I will.
Yeah, I think a 4.8 is where I'm at.
That seems right.
Real good.
That is Lady Soul by Aretha Franklin. We're not going to do the click song this week. We'll do that next week. And now it's time for another perfect musical thing. Whatever. It's the Monkees.
Hey, we're the Monkees!
And people say we monkey around, but we're too busy singing to put anybody down. We're just trying to be friendly. I come and watch, sing and play. We're the young generation, and we got something to say. Hey, we're the Monkees. You never know where we'll be found, so you better get ready. We may be coming to your town.
Monkees was a 2-season long sitcom that aired on NBC. 2 seasons, but it had like 60 episodes. I mean, like, they did okay for themselves. It was kind of created by Bob Rafelson and some other people. This was the birth of the Monkees. When I was younger, aka a week and a half ago, I thought this was a band first, that then was a TV show. It was a TV show that formed this band.
Correct.
I mean, I always knew it was
Jonas
like
Brothers style. Like old school, like Disney.
S Club 7.
Like seriously, like the way that that like the Disney Channel only recently revived, like in the last 20 years, of like, we will launch Miley Cyrus by launching Hannah Montana.
Exactly. But what's something that's definitely different than Hannah Montana, or did the Jonas Brothers have a show? I thought that was like right
they
into
existed before. They eventually had a show, but I think they existed before the show.
Okay. Did anyone watch the show?
I watched the first episode, but I didn't watch Beyond, so I won't henge it. But I did get a special treat of the strangeness of this show.
That is what makes this. I watched 10 episodes, and it is a lot stranger. Like I only saw this like a couple of times as a kid, only basically when I was sick and couldn't go to school. And that's what reruns looked like around 2 in the afternoon.
Sure.
And I was going in thinking it'd be very much the Brady Bunch. I should have covered the podcast. I'm like, okay, it's wholesome, misadventures. Like, oh, who lost the car? The car's over there. No, the show is more interested in being strange than anything else. And when it actually wants to do like musical numbers or to promote them as a band, it feels out of place from this kind of delightfully wacky Abbott and Costello Marx Brothers setup that they're going for here, where you get to have plot lines like one of the guy's uncle who's never been mentioned died and it left them a haunted house. Or now they have some kid said, "Hey Davey, do you want a horse?" Now they have to hide the horse from the landlord all day. It's just like truly cartoonish things. And then you have these four guys with enough acting abilities. I wouldn't say a lot.
Sure.
In fact, two of them are a bit too similar. But they're going for a really
Two
weird...
of them, one of them is named Mike and one of them is named Mickey. So two of them have the same name, but whatever.
It's not helpful.
Yeah.
But they're going for a complete absence in reality. In a way that, like, Marx Brothers would do verbally, where now you would have Groucho go like, "Oh, now I'm acting like I'm this right now." Whereas they would literally cut, now they're all wearing beards and sunglasses that weren't there a second ago. And they would break the fourth wall so often. Like, they had, like, one episode where a few minutes in, the bad guy, I think they were in the Old West town this one,
Sure.
was saying, like, what he plans to do with them again. And the weirdest one turns to the camera and goes, "We did that for you people who joined us late. You're welcome." And then goes right back to the plot. They would frequently have time stops. They have, like, cartoon bubbles over people's heads. And they would acknowledge them within the world. Most episodes would end with them kind of, like, out of character, sitting in their chairs because the producer goes, "The episode was a minute too short, so they just want to talk to you for a bit," and they just kind of riff about shit. It's a really weird show. In a way that, like, pretty much worked better than I thought it would. It's not the greatest, because, again, they're not trained comedians.
They're just dudes who they recruited audition style and formed a band out of.
Yeah. And the worst part of the show is the musical bits, because, well, in 10 episodes, 3 of them had Last Train to Clarksville, or Last Train to Clarksville?
Clarksville.
But their idea of doing the musical numbers is simply just to have the song playing over just, like, endless B-roll. Like, okay, you're at this location, do stuff. Which is typically running around, playing with props, push each other over. And it just happens twice an episode. And it's really... It breaks the rhythm of what's a weirdly well-structured Abbott and Costello-ish episode every week. This was not what I expected from this show. It is not take itself seriously, which I think helps a lot.
Yeah, that helps.
And I forgot that I had seen their movie. Because, like, so this, like,
There's a movie?
Well, sort of. So, like, this was made, and from what I understand, like, it got a bit more hippie-ish as the show went on. I only saw the first 2
Much
episodes.
like the Beatles, and so therefore the Monkees, because the Monkees were just trying to be the Beatles.
100%. That was not even being, like, subtle about it.
Yeah.
But, like, they made this movie, it's on the Criterion Collection, called Head, where the guy I mentioned, Bob Rafelson, directed this thing with the 4 of them. And it's just the trippiest, like, barely put together, like, it's a drug movie. It's more similar to Tommy than anything else. It's
weird.
It's wild. And, yeah. There's an episode of this show that is just this kind of bizarre satire on automation where the taller one wants to get a job at the toy factory, but the whole thing is run by a computer that keeps malfunctioning.
Match. And
it's all, like, crazy wordplay jokes about how computers are the only ones who can make toys now, and it just becomes a weird corporate satire. That's episode 3.
Sure.
I don't know. The Monkees. Weird show.
Wow.
JC, is this what you're expecting?
I don't know. I didn't watch it. And just listening to you talk about it honestly has really been enough for me, I think. This is the amount of delight I need.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah. Sarah, what do you think of the one episode you saw?
I mean,
it's an okay one.
You've described it well. I expected it to be like, let's introduce ourselves to our main characters, and here's where they live, and here's what... It's weirder than that. It's more...
Well, the first episode has a woman about to drown in the water.
Yeah.
Baby saves her. Turns out she's a princess, but the butler's trying to kill her before her birthday
It's very...
to take the money.
I watched it, I will admit, when I was a little drunk, and I was just like, I don't know if I'm not following the plot or what, but now I feel, having listened to your whole, I feel like I'm okay, and I got it.
Mm-hmm. In the haunted house episode, they keep trying to like see if the ghosts are real, but like there's one ghost that just keeps being the ghost of Christmas Past from Christmas Carol.
That's actually kind of amazing.
And that's really funny. I did laugh a bunch, but when you have 5 minutes of a 22-minute episode that you're like, I can fast forward this part, that's not great.
Yeah.
So
Henges.
I'll give this a 3.7. I was about to say 3.8, but there's no way I can say it's the same level as Bringing Up Baby. So I'm
Yeah.
pushing it down. But yeah, that's episode 162.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Also very efficient.
Hell yeah.
This was a reasonably length episode.
Look at that.
It's that talkative Pedro asshole who just
God
kind of
damn
keeps
that
us
guy.
going to 90 minutes.
Definitely all his fault.
Yeah. Play those tapes back. So, next week we're going to be covering the 706 entries. And let me pull up 3 in a row.
They are Once Upon a Time in America.
The album is Bandwagon-esque by Teenage Fan Club. And I can do the song, too. That would be helpful. The song is A Little Respect by Erasure.
And the TV show is, of course, Prison Break.
Sure.
Because it is a show that aired, so it is on the list. I watched the pilot of it today, and I think you should all tune in next week, because this show is going to break Sarah
I'm gonna
body
be
and
real
soul.
mad. I'm gonna be real mad.
So stay tuned for next
The
week. which will
likelihood
be
that this show spins off into an ad absurdum episode is like
Mhm.
non-zero.
Mhm. Because
Except that I would have to make Meredith watch it, and I don't know if I could do that to another person.
nah, she has a child right now. Let her focus on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you all for listening. We'll be back next week with all those things. Pedro will be back. If you want, Once Upon a Time in America is on Netflix if you want to watch beforehand. Note to the listener and my co-host right now, it is 4 hours long. So
Cool.
do not watch it the day of recording. Just throwing that out there.
Cool.
And yeah.
Oh, this is gonna take 4 nights for me to watch.
Yep.
Prison Break is on Hulu.
I watched Nashville in three nights.
Cool.
Is that how long the movie is? Like, is it Nashville for 3 days?
Nashville's 3 hours.
No. But is it like a,
Yeah,
a
it's
long
like 3
weekend?
1-hour episodes.
It is, yeah. It is,
So-
actually, yeah.
So yeah, JC was just like filling the moment. of it
Yeah,
all.
that
like,
makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. So
Oh my god, you're right. I'm so above it all.
it's
You are.
true.
You're great, JC.
So it's going to take you decades to
Thank
finish
you.
Once Upon a Time in America.
Cool.
So
Love
back
it.
next week. Check us out at theartimmortal.com. Leave us a review on iTunes. Follow us on Twitter at @theimmortalspod. Thank you all for listening. You're all great.
Yep.
My name's Austin.
I'm Sarah.
I'm baby.
Yeah, you are.
Oh, that was so good.
That's George.
Wow.
That's George. I do what I can.
George kept waking up Win, by the way. Win was
It's so
asleep,
good.
and George kept up worrying Win.
Oh, no.
Bye,
That's
everyone.
so
Bye,
sweet.
bye,
I love
bye-bye,
it.
everybody.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.